Hi everyone, Tori here. Today I'm sharing another album walkthrough, and I'm actually sharing part 2 of 4. I already showed you the first album from my tour with the African Children's Choir, and today I am sharing my part 2. So part 2 is in this red polka dot album from Project Life. I haven't labeled the outside. I think I still want to do that, but just haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet. And I wanted to go with another bright colored album, so I've used this red polka dot one. And I'm going to be showing you the photos in this album. Sorry, I'm just going to move something here that's in the way. And these photos all come from 2012 and 2013. And they are photos from my time with African Children's Choir. And you can see here, I put the date, and my last album finished with To Be Continued. So this one starts with some hand stitching that says, "The story continues." And this is the beginning of December in 2012. And it's the beginning of our Christmas tour because we began doing Christmas songs. And so I'll just get started and hopefully talk you through what I've done along the way. So I've got my December 2012 calendar in here and all the different things we did. We did a ton of stuff in December and we traveled a lot. So we started December in West Point, Connecticut. Then we were in New Jersey, then Wisconsin, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Wisconsin, Minneapolis. We drove to Texas, then we were in Austin, Texas, so we were a little all over the place. And then the end of December, we had a Christmas break or vacation where we were just at camp for a week and a half, and that was really lovely. So this album begins with photos of our Christmas tour and our Christmas costumes. And I kept the intro sort of simple. On this page, I didn't have any photos to put here, so I just sort of decorated it with some pretty paper and buttons to match the other side. And then this is where I had more photos, so I began filling it in. Some of the kids' costumes for Christmas were black and white, so I wanted to do a 2-page black and white spread, which you can see here. And it just says Christmas time brings. And then I put some of the things that Christmas time brings, like joy, hope, love, and peace. And I used one pattern paper cut up into multiple squares to sort of bring consistency across the page. And then I used little black and white bows, which you can see here, to mimic the bows that are on the boys' bow ties. And I love the way that that works out. I think it sort of ties together the whole page. In December, we were in New York, and the kids were so excited about seeing the big buildings. Their faces were amazed, so you can sort of see here they were really shocked and amazed. So here I've used a 12 by 12 photo that I cut into the Project Life squares, and I had a bunch of people ask a comment, so I thought I would just mention it. Now, I print these 12 by 12 photos at Costco. If you don't have a Costco near you, you can actually order them online and have them ship them to you, and then I take the 12 by 12 photo and I divide it into the page protectors, and I just love the way that that looks. So it matches sort of the theme and style of the other side, which is also Project Life, but it just brings a different added dimension, and I get to like focus on a photo that I really love. Some more just pictures from when we were in New York at Christmas time, which I was so excited about because I've always wanted to be in New York at Christmas. I have some journaling, and again I've used one large 12 by 12 paper and I've cut it up and used it in multiple squares. I really love that look. I think it just brings something nice to the page and just simplifies it, because I don't like it when it's really busy. I like to keep it sort of consistent. I mean, it's busy with embellishments, but not busy with colors. And you saw that in the other album as well as this one, that I usually pick 1 or 2 colors for a layout, like a Project Life layout, just to bring consistency and sort of spread out the craziness. So this is like this bluish turquoisey color, and it's gone on both pages and as well as the insert. Look, Santa Claus came to visit the choir. The kids are so excited. And I've used mostly the Project Life kits for these. Again, some extra things that I had in my stash, like doilies, because I love doilies. Like you can see lots of doilies here. 1, 2, 3 doilies, 4 doilies, 5, 6 doilies. I misted with doilies. And that's a fun technique that you can use. I used a doily, which you can see here, and I put it on top of a white card and misted it. So what you see there is actually just mist, and then what you're seeing there is an actual doily. And I did the same thing where I misted down here with the doily as well. I like trying new techniques in my albums. Here's another layout, mostly yellows. We had a fun fashion show. It was just for us, not for anybody else. We all just got dressed up in funky costumes, and the kids had so much fun getting all dressed up. And then Christmas time. Now, I have a really long December section in this album. Most of my months are not this big. This is December. Look at all these pages. But a lot happened in December, so it just took up a lot of pages. And I'm okay with some months being bigger than other months. And December was just so special because it was the kids' first Christmas ever. Like, these are 7 to 10-year-olds who have never experienced Christmas before, never gotten presents, never received anything of their own. And so I have amazing photos in here, and I just have to keep every single one of them. I couldn't cut any of them out because they were so special. Like, look at this. Look at her reaction to hearing that she's going to get Christmas presents. I mean, how could you cut a photo like that out? Well, you can't. And so each time they got a present, they were so excited that they screamed and cheered and ran around the room with their presents. They were so excited. Look at her face. And Diana here is getting her very first toy doll ever. She's 8 years old, and she was really excited. They made funny faces and ran around and just screamed, said thank you, and they were so thankful for the presents that they each got. So I've just used some repetitive elements like this Project Life card here and here. This one's green and blues, and then this one's oranges and yellows, and it sort of brings consistency to the page as well. This one is probably my least favorite layout in this album just because it's really crazy. But I do really love the pictures, so I wanted to keep them. Some more getting Christmas presents, and then Christmas dinner. I made the whole choir, so 28 people, Christmas dinner with like turkey and Thanksgiving and stuffing and meal and everything. And this is one of my favorite photos in this whole entire album. Gibson is such a goofball that whenever he would eat, he would puff out his stomach and pretend like he was super full. And so I just wrote Gibson approved because he really liked the meal. I think all the kids did, but it was such a special experience. I think it's the best Christmas I've ever celebrated in my entire life. And I mean, to give Christmas presents to kids who have never gotten anything before, they're just so thankful and appreciative, and just for little things. Like, they didn't get a ton of presents, they just got a couple, but they were so thankful. Okay, some other Christmas things like baking cookies. We celebrated some birthdays in December. And this is sort of fun. What I've done here is done repetitive stamping on a card to create like a pattern. And I also did some die cutting here, and that's when I first got my Cuttlebug. So I was playing around with it and some dies that I had picked up as well. So, for example, on this card, you can see that same repeated pattern as you see here and here. And that's an image that I die cut with my Cuttlebug. And I actually die cut these gold ones that you see here out of a gold doily, which is sort of fun. And then I've repeated a gold doily over here so that you're seeing the same color in 2 different places. And I love the way that looks. And this card here came from Studio Calico. It says, "In this house we love big, work hard, and laugh off it." And because we weren't in a house, I just changed it to "in this choir." I'm going to go a little faster now. We did a boys' night and a girls' night. So they don't really match perfectly, but they match in terms of the fact that they're about a similar thing, and also the titles. So have you ever heard those kids sayings like ships and sails and puppy dogs' tails, that's what little boys are made of? Or sugar and spice and everything nice? So they match in terms of the title and also the theme, even though they don't necessarily match other than that. Cooking for the choir, and then New Year's. And this is my very first shaker card I've ever made here, which I absolutely love. It's for 2015. Sorry, that should be open there. We did a concert on New Year's Eve, so we got all dressed up and the kids sang, and it was really great fundraiser for the choir. And then I included highlights of my year here. And then this is the beginning of 2013, and I just let my albums go one after each other, just because it was my whole entire tour. So on this side, I have a whole bunch of tweets that I had sent out, and I just took screenshots and placed them in here. And I love that it just sort of gives an overview of how I was feeling. Like, every time someone asks this lady how she's doing, she responds, "Blessed and highly favored." Hashtag love that. Or this church has the signatures of 4 or 5 other African children's choirs too. How cool to add our names. And then there's a photo. So the January calendar. And then I realized as I was doing my Project Life that I hadn't made a page about all the different chaperones on tour. So I decided to include that here. So we have Auntie Megan, Uncle Vic, Uncle Anthony, Auntie Kayla, and I, Auntie Mel and I, and then Auntie Jennifer and Auntie Eleni. And I just used these really adorable Project Life cards from Studio Calico. I was getting more into 12 by 12 spreads, so I actually started to include actual 12 by 12 spreads like this one, where they have their holy socks. And this one, which I absolutely love the way this worked out with all these diamond patterns. And I like to mix my 12 by 12s with Project Life spreads, and the way I keep it consistent is by using the similar elements on both pages, but also using similar colors. Like the reds and pinks are in both sides, and then these blue sparkly letter stickers are on both sides, so it just makes it look consistent. And I don't think that this looks like it doesn't fit. I think it fits really well. Sometimes I went with simpler pages where I just had 4 pictures and then had lots and lots of journaling all along here. And then sometimes I put 12 by 12 photos in and didn't embellish them at all. I put beauty up here, but other than that, it's just simple and it's a beautiful photo. Oh, I love this page. So in February 2013, we went and visited the Giant Hole, aka the Grand Canyon. But the kids just couldn't remember that it was called the Grand Canyon, so they called it Giant Hole. And I had this amazing photo, and I really wanted to display this, but I also wanted to add something to the top, so I made this really pretty embellishment cluster here, and then a title here, and I covered it with vellum just to make it look sort of airy and light. And I love that it just helps this photo stand out. And then I've got this amazing giant photo of the Grand Canyon, and I just replaced one 3x4 slot with a journaling card, but it doesn't really take away from the photo because it's just small. Some more photos from the Grand Canyon, and then another 12 by 12 spread, which I did some mixed media misting and spraying on here. And a very simple photo. I think I want to go back and add a title, but I think I'll just leave it. I'm not really the kind of person to redo anything that I don't like. For example, I hate this page, but I don't think I'll redo it. It just says go confidently in the direction of your dreams, and she's running in the sun. But I don't know, I just don't like it at all. But I think it just shows my development as an artist and creative person, so I leave those in there. Some more photos of the choir. I'm missing a photo here, so when I get that, I'm going to add that. But the rest is just random photos. In February, I twisted my ankle. Yep, on tour. I was in a wheelchair / on crutches for weeks. So I include this insert with some photos and some tweets that I had sent out about what had happened. And then on the back, I just have a story of the epic fall. and it just goes through what happened. And sometimes it's fun to just include inserts that just have journaling, like no pictures are on here, but it just includes journaling, and it tells a really cool story of who, what, where, when, why. Okay, this photo is amazing, isn't it? It's just a silhouette of a couple of the boys jumping in the sun, and I love this. So I love it so much that I just cut it and fit it into the Project Life Design D page, and then I just left it. I didn't do anything to it, just let it shine because it's so amazing. And I think it's sort of interesting that this, like, the epic fall is over here, and then there's two kids jumping. And then we visited California, so we have some pictures at the Golden Gate Bridge, and another large 12 by 12 photo cut down, and then an insert with the title, Golden Gate Bridge, and then a couple photos. I didn't have enough photos to fill this whole entire insert, so I just included some other cards, but I love these cards and the way they look there. And then the other side of the insert with a couple more photos and a couple more cards. So really I only had 2 pages worth, but I had too many photos for those 2 pages. So that's when I add an insert, and I'm okay if the insert isn't full of photos. If it has more Project Life cards, that's fine with me. I'm trying to add journaling as I go along, and then these pages are pretty simple, just a couple label stickers, title, and a enamel dot. And while we were in California, we also went to the beach, which this is my first time visiting the beach on the West Coast. While we were on tour, we visited the East Coast, and we also visited the West Coast. And we collected things on the beach. The kids had lots of fun doing that. They had so much fun playing. It was cold because it was February, but they just jumped in fully clothed and had a great time. Oh, I love this layout. I scrap lifted this from an amazing person over at the Studio Calico Gallery, and I just love the way that this layout turned out. So no credit for this at all. There are so many talented people in the Studio Calico Galleries, so that photo just completely comes from that. I had this photo and I really had a long story to share with it, so I kept the page simple because I wanted to include my long story about Nina, Margaret, and I include that here. And this is something fun you can do if you have a long journaling that you want to add with a photo, is just keep it simple, put your title in the photo, maybe add something to the side if you are crazy like me and have to embellish every page. But other than that, just simple and beautiful. And then the last page in this album is another 12 by 12 photo that I absolutely love. Some of the kids sitting in the grass looking up. And then I finished the page with the same as the last album. It just says to be continued. And then there's a photo of a couple of the kids playing in the bubbles. So when I was making my albums, each album begins with the same phrase, the story continues, and then each of them end with the same phrase, to be continued. And I just like that that sort of brings consistency. And I love that each album begins or ends with to be continued, because I think the story really does continue. It doesn't end just because this album ends. It keeps going. And I think that's something I'm going to keep doing in all of my albums from now on. They'll all start with the story continues, and they'll all end with the story to be continued. Anyways, I really like the way that this album turned out. It's sort of similar to the last album, although I think this album has more of those 12 by 12 photos because I was falling so much in love with including them. And this album also has more 12 by 12 spreads like this one, because I was sort of getting into doing 12 by 12 spreads and wanted to do them more and include them. So I did that. I think this one's maybe a little simpler than the last one. Well, sometimes it is. But I stuck with that consistent theme of trying to create consistency across 2 pages and mixing page protector designs and inserts. Anyways, Thanks for joining me today, everyone. I hope you had a lovely day. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions, anything I can help with. Leave them in the comments. I try to answer all of them. If I don't answer right away, I will hopefully answer soon, and if I don't, it's because I haven't seen it, so try to comment again or something. Thanks, everyone. Bye.